welcome to Park Life Sport. I'm Bruna Rees.
And I'm Daniel Kahn.
And these are your 3 o'clock sports headlines.
We have a further update from manager Michael Duff regarding Cheltenham Town's COVID-19 situation.
Forest Green chairman Dale Vince has launched a new Green Britain campaign.
Gloucester Rugby's recent slump continues.
Tom Brady wins his 7th Super Bowl title.
And Football vs Homophobia's annual campaign has kicked off.
But first, Cheltenham Town have had their last 2 league matches against Barrow and Carlisle postponed due to an outbreak of COVID-19 in the squad. Michael Duff confirmed Scott Flinders and George Lloyd had been tested positive along with 2 members of staff at the team hotel on Saturday morning on their visit to local rivals Forest Green Rovers. Park Life Sport football correspondent John Townley has the latest on the club's current situation.
Cheltenham Town will return to League 2 action tomorrow night after their latest round of COVID-19 testing saw a reduction in positive cases.
There was one new case. Other than that, everyone was good to go. So we obviously we're all back in today, training now, preparing for tomorrow.
After following strict EFL guidelines, club press officer Richard Joyce outlined how the club had dealt with a recent coronavirus outbreak.
So it's been a whole week off, basically just self-isolating. The training ground was shut down, no players present sort of thing. So it's just been a case of making sure that everyone just stays away and just to stop any potential spread of any COVID. The academy also, that they've obviously not been involved as well. So it has been a case of just shutting down the training ground and making sure that there's no one around really to risk, cut any potential spread of it. The club's still been operating as per normal from the stadium in terms of the operations side. But again, just doing it as we should do with all the proper rules and staff mainly working from home. We've also got some staff on furlough as well. So it's cut down on the amount of staff. But from a football perspective, yes, everyone's been at home, not at the training ground.
Up to 5 first-team players had tested positive for the virus only 8 days ago in the previous round of testing. But with only 1 positive case recorded at the club in the latest round, Cheltenham will travel to Harrogate Town tomorrow night, having trained at the Energy Check training ground earlier this morning.
It's just 1 training session and then straight into a game. But if you speak to Michael Duff, he always turn that potentially into a positive as well, because they have only essentially missed, let's say, 3 training sessions, because of course he would have played the game on the Tuesday against Barrow as well. So essentially they've only missed maybe 3 training sessions potentially if everything's okay on the Sunday with the testing going into the Harrogate game. So it is a case probably of just being resilient, pulling together, making the long trip north up to Harrogate and getting some sort of result.
Cheltenham could move into the League 2 automatic promotion places with a win at the Envirovent Stadium. But how might have Michael Duff prepared his players ahead of the trip to North Yorkshire?
Previously, they've done massive group Zoom calls, and then they've been watching sort of tactical bits and pieces. So, for example, they watched and studied recently a lot of how Sheffield United play, because, of course, Sheffield United play a similar formation, had a very good season last season in the Premier League. Do similar things in terms of the way in which their centre-backs get forward and the way our wide centre-backs get forward. So they actually spent a lot of time doing that in big group meetings using tools like Zoom to do that. So that will be something they would have done again, because as much as they haven't been at the training ground, the management would have been really keen to keep their heads on it. Yes, it's a week off, but it's not a week off as in like, right, go home and just do what you want. It's a week off where, they still have to be switched on and intense, because otherwise the last thing you want to do is get back to it and not be on the ball, definitely.
Forest Green Rovers' chairman Dale Vince has teamed up with the Daily Express to launch the Green Britain campaign. Here is what he had to say on the club's official Twitter page.
We've just launched a campaign with the Daily Express for a Green Britain. It's a campaign for everybody. Living a greener life is much easier than you probably think. There are just 3 things to look at: how we power ourselves, how we travel, and what we eat. It's about energy, transport, and food. In the coming weeks and months, along with the Daily Express, we'll take you on a journey through these topics. We'll talk to you about the technology, the advantages, and how you can change your own life. It's much easier than you think. So I hope you'll get involved and join us in our campaign for a Green Britain.
On to the rugby. Gloucester have missed out on the opportunity to bounce back from their poor run of results against London Irish in the Gallagher Premiership. The Exiles claimed their 3rd positive result in the 8 Premiership games following a 32-26 win over the Cherry and Whites. Reporter Amber Maudsley-Chamberlain has more on the story.
It was a dramatic game from both sides, seeing 26 points on the scoreboard in just the first half, starting with London Irish securing their first 7 points within a minute from kick-off. However, Gloucester quickly equalised those points with this try from Henry Trinder just 2 minutes later.
Reed! And this is it again! Gloucester! Henry Trinder! Oh my goodness!
The teams went into the second half with just 2 points separating them after a try from both sides, with Gloucester edging in front. However, Irish were back on their game, scoring another quick try 2 minutes into the second half. It all seemed over for Gloucester. With a man down, Irish secured another try, opening the scoreboard back up.
Forward, Creevy, all to the line and over.
Gloucester chased the tails of the Irish, scoring another 2 tries. However, a 5th try from Hassel Collins and a penalty was the final nail in the coffin, and a cherry on white's victory was no more.
London Irish 32, Gloucester 26.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was obviously a bit of table tennis. They scored real early, but we got one straight back, and we were sort of back with a foothold in the game. We pushed on it. The first half there was some ebbs and flows. We managed quite well. Real good D set at the end, but unfortunately, sort of the last half we dropped off a little bit, and they're a good team and they punish you when they get the opportunity. And we came here for points. We got points there not before, and the win that we wanted. But we're pushing on now, and we're back at Kingsholm. There'll be some positives in there, but there'll be some negatives as well. We'll look at. Be hard on ourselves. We were after last week as well, and we've got to take that sort of on the chin and keep moving forward as a group.
And it was the return of Super Bowl last night at the Raymond James Stadium as Tampa Bay Buccaneers welcomed Kansas City Chiefs in Florida. A comfortable 31-9 victory over Kansas City extended quarterback Tom Brady's record of Super Bowl wins to 7, and he was also named the MVP for the 5th time. Our reporter Eve Edmondson takes us through the action.
Super Bowl 55 kicked off in Tampa last night as the Kansas City Chiefs looked to become back-to-back champions. But they were unable to replicate last year's success as they were defeated 31-9 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady threw to Rob Gronkowski for the first touchdown of the game to take an early 7-3 lead against the Chiefs. The Bucs hammered at the Chiefs' defence in the second quarter, but they stood strong to prevent Tampa from converting on 4th and goal, one of the only positive plays by the Kansas defence all night. However, the defence was cut up minutes later as Brady combined with Gronkowski for the second time on the night, showing just how unstoppable their partnership can be. By now, Kansas were spiralling, and poor discipline in defence led to Brady's 3rd touchdown of the night, as he threw to Antonio Brown in the end zone seconds before half-time, signalling the end for the reigning champions.
When the Super Bowl ended, the ball would be in the hands of Tom Brady.
An embrace at the end between Brady and Mahomes, arguably the 2 best quarterbacks in the league this season, but it was Brady and his Bucs who would be celebrating their side's 2nd ever Super Bowl victory.
And we are now joined by Park Life Sports NFL expert Lucas Robinson. Lucas, thank you for joining us today. Kansas came into this game as favourites considering they won the last Super Bowl, but are you surprised that Tom Brady has won his 7th title?
I think the biggest shock for me personally was that it wasn't close at the end. It finished 31-9, obviously in favour of Tampa. The biggest shock was just how much they won by. Mahomes in his career had never lost a game by more than a score. He's won like 80% of his games, only lost 1 playoff game. He was just on red hot form, and to be annihilated like that generally in the final game of the season was just the biggest shock. I think looking at the X and O's, it was always going to come down to a few matchups. I think the biggest was the Chiefs lost both their tackles, and that was just, it killed them in the end.
And in your opinion, did it favour the Buccaneers that it was their home Super Bowl?
When I think about it, I wasn't too sure if it was an advantage or not, just because it's never happened before. No team has ever won nor played prior to last night. So I wasn't sure how much of an advantage it would be, given that just the pressure of knowing that they've achieved that and then they could lose it. It would be like in football when Bayern lost a Champions League final to Chelsea in their own backyard. It was just like, I don't know if it was a bonus or a bit of a failure in the end, to be honest.
And finally, the question that's on every NFL fan's lips is what is next for Brady and Gronkowski?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't be too shocked if this would be the final time we see him. He's said numerous times he wants to play till he's 45. He's 43 now. He's won his 7th ring, more than any team, to be honest, which just puts him on, I don't know, unfound levels of greatness, to be honest. From now, I think Gronk to start with, he was always going to be a factor in this game for me. I think he was just, Brady was going to rely on him. He's been here before. The big catch he made in his last Super Bowl against the Rams, he's just so reliable. So for him, he doesn't have much more to play for, Gronkowski. He's already cemented his legacy. I think that's his fourth, or maybe, yeah, that's his 4th ring. He's he hasn't got much else to prove other than just his fitness. Really, he looks a lot better than when he retired the first time.
And lastly, Charlton Athletic have launched the Football vs Homophobia's Month of Action, which kicked off at the start of February. Our presenter Daniel Khan went to find out more.
Good evening and welcome back to the Valley as Charlton Athletic proudly host the launch event of Football vs Homophobia's Month of Action. Hello there, I'm Scott.
The 2021 Month of Action kicked off with a wonderful launch event at the Valley. Scott Minto and co really delivered on such an interactive event, which involved a variety of guests, including Proud Valiants member Sam Clark, who joined me to give his verdict.
It was incredible. Scott was a fantastic host. You know, he's a great presenter as it is, but he was a fantastic host. Done what not a lot of hosts in that position would do, who got the kind of reputation that he done, and he didn't do a lot of the talking. He let the people who had stories to tell do the talking, which is really good to see. As much as I hated seeing myself on screen, having the Proud Valiants talk at various points, I mean myself, Rebecca, and then obviously Gary, Bav and Rob all at the start telling their stories, and having Lou on there, and you know, Scott talking about how much of a charismatic speaker Lou is, which I can't disagree with. I had many meetings of Lou where I'm just kind of mesmerised by her speech patterns and how she carries herself. And yeah, just every part of the event was really amazing.
Sports media LGBT's John Holmes and the youth panel's Ryan Harwood teamed up to deliver the first event around inclusive sports reporting to a cohort of Southampton Solent sports journalism students. And the youth panel's co-coordinator Beatrice Fairkettle explained why students should attend these events.
Why should students attend this event? It's for your own development, you know, for your own understanding, your own curiosity, your own education. I think that's why people should attend the event.
After an impressive start to the Month of Action, the Football vs Homophobia youth panel will be hoping to see this momentum continue throughout the campaign. Sam's event in association with Southampton Solent University generated a huge amount of interest and showed that students genuinely care about the art of inclusive sports reporting. Maybe we could see something similar set up in the near future with the University of Gloucestershire. Daniel Khan, Part Life Sport.
And that's all we have time for today. Make sure to keep up to date with our local news around Gloucestershire by following at @parklife_sport on Twitter and our live blog.
Stay safe and we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.